Good day, and I thank all of you for turning out to participate in the Buddhist Global Relief Walk to Feed the Hungry today. As many of you may know, we started these walks in 2010. At that time, we had just one walk in New Jersey. In the year 2011, we had 3 walks in New York City, near Ann Arbor, Michigan, and in the South Bay of California. Last year, we had more than 10 walks across the United States, with a walk in England and solidarity walks in Cambodia and India. The purpose of these walks is primarily to raise funds in order to support our projects that sweep across the globe from Southeast Asia through South Asia, through much of Central Africa to Haiti and the United States. But I see these walks, as well as the work of Buddhist Global Relief, as a way of putting compassion into action. I call this conscientious compassion. This kind of compassion is not just sweet and soft, passive compassion, but it's a compassion which is motivated by a drive that comes from the depths of our conscience. It's a compassion that springs up from the conviction that in this world, nobody, no human being should have to suffer the indignity of extreme poverty, of hunger, and of malnutrition. I don't think of our BGR walk as a kind of charity. I even think the word generosity is too weak. Rather, I see this as an expression of solidarity. And solidarity means that we feel with others as if they are ourselves. Solidarity means that we see ourselves in others and we see others in ourselves. It means that we let our hearts break open to the suffering of others, and that, driven by the force of conscience, we are ready to act, even to act forcefully, even fiercely, though non-violently, in order to promote their well-being, to eliminate the forces that create suffering for them, and do our utmost to help them emerge from their misery and suffering. I see this also as a way of embodying justice in action. That is, we live in a world in which there are very serious violations of the basic principles of justice. And the foundation of justice is the conviction that every human being is entitled to live a life of meaning, of dignity, of internal value. And so when we extend our hearts to others and we see them oppressed by social and economic justice, we feel compelled to do our utmost to reverse those forces that are responsible for an unjust world. Instead, we feel driven to create a new world based on a new vision, a vision of the essential solidarity of all human beings in the quest to emerge from suffering and to find real happiness. And so we start at the very ground level with the most afflictive type of suffering to which people are exposed, the suffering of hunger, the suffering of malnutrition. And by sponsoring projects that enable them to develop right livelihood projects, that enable girls to receive an education, that enable small farmer communities to develop systems of sustainable agriculture, we hope to uplift them and let them live happily masters of their own fate. And this year, I want to call attention to another important factor which is presently responsible for much hunger and malnutrition, and which will become even more serious in the decades of the future. And this is escalating climate change. You know, there's a very close correlation between the climate and agriculture. And as the global temperatures grow ever warmer, it means that the productivity of agriculture will gradually decline. More and more land that is now fertile will turn barren, and crops will not produce as much grain as they did in the past. And so the consequence, if we let global warming continue on its present track, the consequence will be more people suffering from hunger, more spikes in the price of foods, more food riots, more social deterioration, even state collapse, and spreading terrorism. And so, as citizens of the planet, we have to join hands on behalf of everybody in this world to do our utmost to stop increasing greenhouse gas emissions, the cause of climate change. There are various ways that one can do this, but what I suggest is to first learn more about this all-important issue. You can learn a lot on the internet from such websites as Climate Progress and the Union of Concerned Scientists. And then you should make a commitment to link up with an organization engaged in the fight against climate change. Such organizations include the Union of Concerned Scientists, 350.org, Greenpeace, the National Resources Defense Council, and a number of other organizations. BGR itself constantly tries to send out the message about the impact of climate change on the world's food supply, and we feel this is becoming an increasingly important part of our mission. So to conclude, again, I want to thank you all for turning out for this walk today and for this gathering, and I wish you all blessings in the year ahead and hope to see you on next year's walk. And if you have the opportunity, we always need volunteers to support our walk. So please speak to one of the leaders of the walk you're on and see if you can volunteer your services for next year's walk. Again, I thank you and send you my sincere blessings.